Part 32. Dimensional Chosen, Only I Know Saitama is the Strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 311. Heishimo felt unprecedented excitement. All the strength in the body was suddenly released. In an instant, his muscles expanded rapidly. The ghost blade in his hand began to grow without limit. It reached a terrifying length in the blink of an eye. And there are countless barbs on it, which looks extremely ferocious. Muichiro Tokitoru stood aside, watching the changes in Ghost Blade, feeling horrified. Such an abnormal attack distance, coupled with his speed. Simply impeccable. The next second, Heishimo put down Shang Xianyi's reserve and took action directly. The surrounding air gradually became stagnant, and even the background around him began to change. It was as if everyone was under the moonlit night, and Black Death Mao seemed to have brought the battlefield to the edge of the moon. All around are pure white thick fog, like clouds. The breath of the moon, the shape of Qi. Mirror of misfortune Yu Ying. The long sword in his hand was swung rapidly, and countless sword lights were fired from all directions in an instant. The purple attack directly cracked the floor and attacked everyone. The breath of Xia, the shape of Qi. Hazy. Muichiro Tokitoru also used his strongest killing move, and Keixia instantly enveloped him tightly. But such a killing move was only used for defense by Muichiro Tokitoru at this moment. A dark purple sword light collided with Muichiro's strongest killing move, and there was a loud explosion. Keixia was instantly blown away, and Muichiro's figure was knocked back violently by the huge impact. The double swords in Yiji's assistant also slashed continuously before he could withstand one of these blows. But this was only part of Heishimo's attack, and the remaining blades rushed towards Fang Ye as if commanded. Boom! Fang Ye stood calmly on the spot, and the purple light exploded in front of him. He didn't even raise his hand. Just like that, just a foot away in front of Fang Ye, everything exploded. It's so fast, but, and what's next? Heishimo was shocked by Fang Ye's speed. Even though he had opened the realm of transparency, he couldn't see Fang Ye's movements clearly. There wasn't even a muscle tremor, as if the sword light was just him. It was like an explosion. But Heishimo wouldn't think so, after all, it was his full blow. The long knife kept swinging out, and a large amount of purple light appeared again, hitting Fang Ye directly. Let me see how you resist. Fang Ye remained motionless, and his hands began to tremble. Purple light exploded inch by inch in front of him, and no blade of light could break through Fang Ye's range of 1 foot. Heishimo finally saw clearly. Rather than seeing clearly, it's better to say that he guessed it. Fang Ye's hands were not shaking, but because he was too fast. Fang Ye's continuous punches seemed to have never moved in Heishimo's eyes. Very good, you are strong. But Breath of the Moon is not the end of it, there will be attacks coming next, let's see how you can resist them. Boom. Black Death Mao's momentum burst out, and the ghost blade surged again. Breath of the Moon, 8-shaped. Moon Dragon Wheel Tail. With a swing of the knife, the floor 5 meters away from Black Death Mao instantly exploded. A clear line of visible purple sword light flew straight out with countless blue moon blades. The attack range of this move was so large that even 2 people in the distance were affected. Inashuk waved his sword to resist, but his feet were still scratched. Injured. Muichiro Tokitoru struck out the strongest blow again, but his whole body was sent flying. He was hit deeply into the wall. The speed is too fast and the attack range is terrifying. If this continues, let alone cutting off the head, even if it goes within the effective supply range, it won't be possible. Tokito Muichiro shouted, and the right hand holding the sword began to tremble. As if he had a telepathic connection. Fang Ye briefly used Wukong Jutsu to dodge the blow, and at the same time, the figure shot towards Heishimo quickly. Breath of the Moon, Ju shape. Falling Moon continuous slash. In an instant, Heishimo quickly swung his sword and fired out several sword lights again, instantly blocking Fan Ye's direction. But Fan Ye still couldn't dodge in mid-air, and his right hand briefly charged after the force. It burst out with a bang. Boom! A powerful explosion was generated, directly smashing the net woven by the sword light in front of him. Together with the moon blades that were constantly surging in it, they exploded in the air instantly, turning into stars and falling down. Fan Yes the figure quickly rushed out of the smoke, and his left fist turned into flames and struck out quickly. Heishimo's pupils shrank. The ghost blade instantly grew extremely generous, blocking him like a shield, trying to block Xia Ye's punch. In 1 second, the broad blade collided with the flaming fist, and it shattered in an instant. Countless shattered blades pierced into Heishimo's body, instantly becoming dripping with blood. After shattering the blade, Black Death Mao's eyes widened as he saw Fan Ye punch him again. He quickly deflected his body, and Black Death Mao narrowly avoided being hit. But half of his body was still wiped off. With the help of the residual power generated by the explosion, Heishimo quickly flew out. His entire body quickly retreated, and he quickly distanced himself from Fan Ye. Breath of the Moon, Pickup Style. Face Piercing / Logo U. Swiftly swung a knife, Heishimo took advantage of this time to quickly recover from his injuries. The purple sword light appeared instantly, and it was so wide that it seemed to connect the ground and the sky. First, the moon blades kept pouring out from it, as if they had seen the blood food they longed for. It spins and shoots at Fan Ye. The moon blade keeps expanding and shrinking, and the attack distance also increases and decreases. It's difficult for a moment. Fan Ye accumulates power briefly, and punches out with his right fist again. A serious punch. Boom! The attack in front of him in an instant, a big hole was opened by Fan Ye, and most of the moon blades were wiped out in an instant. At the same time, Fan Ye activated his weapon color and protected his neck, joints, and other key parts to death. The traces of the moon blades are very difficult to find, so if you can't protect them all, it's a shame. There will be some fish that slipped through the net and suddenly attacked Fan Ye. All the surrounding pillars were cut off, and this area directly became a plain battlefield for the two of them. The moonblade was still firing. Fan Ye frowned. It can be felt that He Death Mao's ghost energy is condensing, and his injuries must have been recovered. Such a dilemma must be solved as soon as possible. After all, He Death Mao is not the final boss. Fan Ye's figure shot out, like the arrow flying close to the ground went straight towards the purple sword light. In mid-air, Fan Ye briefly accumulated his strength, and then punched out hard. The sword light was shattered again, but what followed was the ever-changing moon. Breathe. The breath of the moon, the pattern of 16. Yue Hungu Liu Yu. Heishimo waved the ghost blade in his hand, and countless strong winds fell from the sky, directly shattering the earth. At the same time, countless moon blades poured down like waterfalls. The moon blade continued to expand and contract, and the sky was filled with engraved crescents. Dimensional chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 312. Just as they were fighting, a voice suddenly rang through the sky. A big hole was made in the ceiling again, and two figures rushed in instantly. Immortal River was covered in blood, and it was obvious that he had experienced a dangerous battle before. Another figure is extremely tall. It is the rock pillar that mourns the island and travels to the underworld. As soon as he came, he saw Fan Ye's dilemma. Mr. Ye, we have temporarily contracted the battle here. Please recover quickly. After all, the next step is. Having said this, Minjiao Xingming stopped talking. Fan Ye understood, and after punching Heishimo's sword to pieces again, he stepped aside. Immortal Kawasania and Minjiao Xingming quickly came to the top. The fight between the three is about to break out. Oh! Are they from the Demon Slayer squad again? It seems that Naruchan puts a lot of pressure on me. Heishimo waved the ghost blade in his hand, and a faint moonlight burst out from it. The age of ghosts has passed. As long as we deal with you, we can deal with Wuhan with peace of mind. Mailing Island Xingming waved the meteor hammer in his hand and said calmly. To deal with Master Wuhan? I'm afraid you are thinking too much. Human beings are like this, they are always the kind of people who don't know what they can do. Before you can break through the shackles in front of you, you are already thinking about what you will do next. People like you are destined not to achieve great things. In my opinion, you are not even worthy of being made into ghosts. If you hadn't appeared, that kid might have been killed by me. Heishimo said confidently, because the injuries on his body have recovered as before. Fart, you big talker, I want to tear your mouth apart. You googly-eyed bastard. Inashuk, who had watched the whole battle, shouted in dissatisfaction. If you don't take into account the subsequent battle, Mr. Ye can definitely finish you off in one go. You are too noisy. As if he was hit at a painful point, Heishimo snorted coldly and waved the ghost blade in his hand vigorously. Breath of the moon, the shape of Qi. Mirror of misfortune Yu Ying. There are two ghost blades as long as the knife, matching the above. The staggered blades swung forward quickly. Suddenly, 5 arc-shaped sword auras appeared in front of them, attacking several people. Moreover, the sword aura would branch and copy as it advanced. And suddenly the number of troublesome sword energies reached 10. The two of them did not dare to neglect, and each of them swung the weapons in their hands. Mingyu Xingming swung the meteor hammer in his hand so hard that even the air was drained, and the sword the Qi was even affected to move in his direction. Immortal Kawasania used his speed to continuously turn around from the attack loopholes of the sword Qi. At the same time, he kept swinging the Nichiren sword in his hand to solve the troubles that he could not avoid. The sword energy was drawn to Xingming's side of Mingming Island. Xingming, who could not see, could feel the approaching danger through his perception of the air. The meteor hammer in his hand was thrown out quickly, and the sword energy that gathered in it was smashed in one fell swoop. Explode. A loud explosion sounded, and debris all over the ground was blown up into the sky. Very good muscles. It's probably been 300 years since I've seen a human being who has exercised his muscles to this extent. There was some excitement in Heishimo's voice, but more of it was regret. Have markings been turned on? Heishimo used his eyes to check the physical condition of Wei Minjiao Xingming, and said slowly. 27 years old, do you still need to turn on stripes at this age? According to records, swordsmen who turn on their markings will die at the age of 25. If you turn on your markings now, you probably won't survive tonight. Why bother? Gaining strength through stripes is just overdrawing one's life in advance. Isn't it worth regretting that a body that has been tempered to such perfection is going to die tonight? Do not think so. Minjiao Xingming shook his head and said calmly. Everyone in the Demon Slayer Corps knows that a swordsman with a pattern will die at the age of 25, and there is nothing to regret about it. Only humans can die. If you become a ghost because you are afraid of death, what are you pursuing? Even if there are no markings, living in the Demon Slayer Corps is still a life of narrow escape, so what difference does it make? If you can't even achieve this kind of enlightenment, how can you deserve to be called a swordsman and become a pillar? Mingyu Xingming's voice was extremely calm, as if he was telling something trivial. If you can't even face death, then what qualifications do you have to be a swordsman? People like you will never understand the reserve of us humans and are destined not to survive forever. Heishimo, who was still pitying Minjiao Xingming, was suddenly speechless by these words. Suddenly, his blade appeared next to Minjiao Xingming and slashed hard at his neck. Clang. The sword was blocked by the chain and could not be saved at all. At the same time, Minjiao Xingming began to counterattack. The meteor hammer in his hand quickly hit Hey Detmo. He dodged sideways, and Heidetmo was about to rush forward again with a swing of his sword, facing him head-on. But what came was the giant axe on the other end of the chain. The cold light flashed, and Heidetmo couldn't avoid it, and one of his ears was cut off. He went back to chop again, but when Heidetmo succeeded in his attack, he felt a chill at his feet. Before he had time to think, Black Death Mao jumped up subconsciously. Immortal Kawashimi's sneak attack failed, but he was not discouraged, because the attack of Ming Minjio Seeing Ming came again. The meteor hammer came out with a bang, and Black Death Mao was forced to resist with a horizontal sword. The man flew out and smashed two pillars with his face. How could the swordsmen with different breaths cooperate so perfectly, and they were still attacking together? Heishimo didn't expect that two people with completely different attack methods could cause damage to him at the same time without being affected by each other. It seems that the cooperative fighting between the pillars was not in vain, Mr. Wei Minjio. The immortal Kawasania resisted the knife and said to the mournful Yu Seeing Ming beside him. Yes. Bei Minjio Seeing Ming said very little, but he has already shown his meaning. At the same time, Tokaido Muichiro also joined the battle. These three people. Heishimo looked at the bodies of the three people through his eyes and made an instant judgment. Even among the Demon Slayer squads in the past, these three people are still the best. In this way, the three people's coordinated attacks gave him a headache. Especially that man. Heishimo's eyes were fixed on Ming Ming Island Seeing Ming. Even if he is blind, it still does not affect his performance in battle. The weapon in his hand was almost tailor-made for him. Through the vibration of the chain, the situation in the surrounding space can be judged, and the weapons at both ends fit perfectly with his strong body. Moreover, in the collision just now, Heishimo found that his ghost blade could not cut off the chains of Wailing Island Seeing Ming. It will even cause a corrosion-like effect on his ghost blade. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 313. If nothing else, a lot of sunlight should have been added to this weapon when it was made. In this case, Black Death Mao focused his attention on the other two people, and after a brief search, he locked onto Immortal Kawasania. He had already suffered serious injuries, and he had obviously experienced battles before. Compared to the damage sustained on his body, his physical strength should also be greatly reduced. Perhaps the best solution among the three. Destroy your weapons first. Black Death Mo determined the target and moved quickly. Instantly appeared in front of Immortal Kawasania's eyes, and the ghost blade in his hand slashed directly to the side of Hikawa. Immortal Kawasania was suppressed, and the knife in his hand was cut hard from the side. One knife. Not good. Screaming secretly, Immortal Kawasania instantly judged the opponent's purpose. Black Death Mao wanted to destroy his own weapons. Not all Demon Slayer Corps officers can do what Fang Ye did, even with bare hands. The demon caused a lot of damage. If the Nichiren sword was destroyed, the swordsmen of the Demon Slayer Corps would have wasted more than half of their combat effectiveness. Immortal Kawasania's power exploded, and his wrist flicked violently. The blade was instantly straightened, and he directly suppressed Death Mao's ghost sword in reverse. Quick reaction? Death Mao didn't expect such a situation to happen, so he drew back the sword. Breath of Xia, cheese shape. Hazy. The next second, Death Mao his figure was instantly wrapped in a cloud of colorful clouds, and his sight was instantly blocked. Tokitoru Muichiro slashed at the evil ghost who claimed to be his ancestor. Want to be my ancestor? You are still far away. Tokaido Muichiro shouted coldly, and the blade in his hand was a little faster again. But even so, it was still blocked by Hisayama's sword. His whole body retreated, and Hisayama was looking for a way to defeat the enemy. Plan. But how could the three people's airtight attacks give him this opportunity? Minjio seeing Ming appeared in front of Heishimo again, and the meteor hammer hit again. The ultra-long distance attack came to him in the blink of an eye. Heishimo subconsciously wanted to raise his knife to defend himself, but the ghost blade in his hand was blown away by a blue whirlwind. Remember me, I am the strong wind that will break your neck. After the coordination, immortal Sakawasania's figure moved in mid-air, making way for Minjio Xingming's attack. Black Death Mao tried his best to twist his body, but his shoulder was shattered. Breath of the wind, the shape of Qi. Breath of Xia, the shape of Si. The two of them took action again, and countless sword shadows crisscrossed and slashed at Heishimo's body. Don't stop, keep attacking the neck. Minjio Xingming shouted loudly and rushed forward. Unexpectedly, Heishimo, with only half of his body left, started to attack with only one hand. The breath of the moon, the shape of 8. The tail of the moon dragon wheel. The purple sword light was thrown out instantly, drawing a huge circle like a dragon wagging its tail. The few people who rushed up again were instantly forced back. The blue moon blade scratched large and small wounds on their bodies, and there was no blood. The living thing came out. Stop the bleeding. Bailing Yu Xingming gave an order, and at the same time, the two of them had used the breathing method to stop the bleeding. The three of them were hit 8 feet away by Heishimo's attack just now, completely out of their effective attack range. At such a distance, even if the attack was hit going in, there is no way to cause substantial damage. Black Death Mao did not stop, and the ghost blade in his hand changed again. Strange attacks burst out one after another, constantly widening the distance between the three of them. Breath of the moon, Ju shape. Drop. Moon face to face. Immortal Kawasania, who was too close, was cut with many wounds again, and was suppressed by life and death. Breath of the moon, picking up shape. Cut through the face, Luo Yu. The overwhelming purple sword light flew towards him, the suppressed immortal Sakawasania couldn't dodge at all. Cheer up. A voice came into his ears, and immortal Kawasania felt his body being pulled from behind, and he was instantly out of this hell. Tokaitu. Don't die, your hands are still used to swing the knife. Tokitoru Muchiro said behind immortal Kawamanomi, and the two of them retreated. Try to find opportunities, don't sit back and wait for death, otherwise there will be too much time without misfortune. Xingming gave a prompt, and he rushed forward first. The breath of the rock, the shape of 1. Boom. Before the breath of rock could be used, it was interrupted by the opponent's attack. Sword energy descended from the sky, directly shattering the surrounding ground. Feeling the vibrations in the surrounding air, Minjio narrowly avoided the sword energy that could kill him again and again. Damn it, when did this sword move end? Minjio secretly cursed, and even he was starting to get anxious at this moment. Relying on his own speed, Minjio wanted to try to find an opportunity, but what greeted him was an attack that was seen through every time. Very fast, it's strange. Minjio feels as if his thoughts are being read. This kind of situation has not happened before. After all, there are many highly talented swordsmen who can judge the opponent's next move through the way the opponent raises his hand. What move is coming? But Heishimo has quickly escaped from common sense. The moment he reads his thoughts, he uses sword skills, and he can perfectly resist their attacks. He can do this every time, isn't he a god? Wymingyu couldn't help but think of Yanzu's evaluation of Fang Yi, like a prophet who could predict Yu Wozuo's attack. No, he was enveloped by a sacred aura at that time, and this evil ghost. Minjio Xingming tried to feel it, but all he received was the ghost energy that made him sick. Can evil spirits use the power of God? While dodging the attack, Minjio tried to find out the source of what made him feel strange. Even ghosts are transformed from human beings. My blind eyes are the eyes of truth that cannot be deceived at all. See through it all. Ming Minjio Seeing Ming shouted in a low voice, as if to warn his body to quickly reach its limit. Suddenly, his eyes were no longer pitch black, and Heishimo's figure actually appeared in his sight, and seemed to be analyzed. Generally, the entire person's muscle texture and blood flow direction are undoubtedly exposed before your eyes. What's this? It feels like a heartbeat, running through the whole body. Suddenly, Bei Minjio seemed to realize what was going on, and instantly understood what was going on. Because the moment Heishimo used his sword technique, a clear scene appeared in his mind. He easily avoided this move. Minjio Seeing Ming turned around and shouted, "Immortal River! Shitu!" Immortal Kawasania quickly understood and started running at a high speed. Since Mingming Island Xingmei is sure, he must seize the opportunity. Tokitamuchiro is also creating colorful clouds around him, and is also looking for flaws. Breath of the Moon, 14 types. Fierce changes. The sky is full of fiber and moon. Dimensional chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 314. Heishimo waved the ghost blade in his hand, and sword auras instantly appeared around him, surrounding him. Immortal River and Tokitoru Muchiro were very worried when they saw this. In their eyes, this move can almost be called impeccable. After looking around for a long time, I couldn't find any flaws. Don't be discouraged, there are flaws in every sword move. There is no perfect sword move in this world. Undead Sania yelled, not only to remind Muchiro Tokitoru, but also to remind himself. The two of them kept swinging their swords, fighting against the ghost blade in Heishimu's hand. At the same time, Minjio Xingmei also kept swinging with the iron chain in their hands. Everyone is waiting for a flaw. As long as this flaw is exposed, someone will be able to go in and cut off Heishimo's head. Ha 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 ha, what are you thinking? If this continues, it will be you who die. Heishimo continued to wave the ghost blade in his hand, even faster and faster. Just when he was proud, he suddenly felt a stinging pain in his hand. Looking down, he saw a round Buddhist bead hitting the hand holding the sword. When Heishimo was shocked. This attack actually succeeded in breaking through his swordsmanship. And it was silent, and he didn't even notice it before he was hit. Was it thrown while swinging the chain? How did you, a man, fool my eyes? However, Minjio Seeing Ming will not answer, because the flaw has been exposed to everyone. Dust whirlwind, slash. A green whirlwind instantly broke through his defense and struck directly. Heishimo raised his sword to defend, but he felt a huge force. The blade seemed to be hit head-on by a high-speed train, and the blade broke directly. Puff! Heishimo was directly smashed half of his body, and even his right hand was cut off. Here it is again, who is this man? Heishimo noticed something strange, because he could no longer judge the next attack of Minjio Seeing Ming. At this time, a figure instantly hit Heishimo. The breath of Xia, the shape of Qi. Hazy. A sword flashed out instantly, cutting off Heishimo's lower body without him noticing it. What's the situation? Heishimo is going crazy. Why can't he see through their actions? First the man with fists, and then the man wielding chains. Even this junior of his own can escape her at this moment. Eyes. He couldn't accept it. Suddenly, his eyes met Tokaido Muchiro's sight. The murderous aura in Tokaido Muchiro's sight was gone. It even became extremely clear and transparent. No wonder, it turns out you have reached this level too. Heishimo murmured, and instantly thought of Minjio Seeing Ming. The man who couldn't see must have reached this state. Was he in battle? How lucky to be able to acquire such skills in a life and death battle. Breath of the Moon, 16 postures. Heishimo raised his remaining hand again, preparing to launch a sword move. With this move, they will distance themselves again. Moreover, Your injuries can also be given time to recover. As for the little guy with the back next to me, just die. This is your destiny. He Mao Li shouted, and the blade in his hand was about to be chopped off. Suddenly, his wrist was kicked to pieces from behind, and the ghost's sword fell down. Fang Ye simply resisted the most uncomfortable state, while looking for it was the right time to strike. At this time, he grabbed Muichiro with his left hand and threw him backwards. He suddenly blasted out with his right hand. A serious punch. He punched out with an extremely strong fist. Heishimo, who had lost his legs, had no defense at all. The only thing he could do at this time was just twist his head with all your strength. Click. With a crisp sound, Heishimo's head rotated 180 degrees, but he only saw a fist expanding in his sight. It's you. Heishimo screamed, and before he could say anything, his head was completely smashed. His eyeballs shattered to the ground, along with pieces of red and white stuff. Success! Undead Sania shouted in surprise. But Minjio Xingming, who had already opened the realm of transparency, found that things were not that simple. Not to mention that the muscles in Heishimo's body were still running, the blood was still circulating, and the body did not disappear at all. Signs. I can't die. Heishimo, who lost his head, actually made a sound, and at the same time, the blood on his neck was stopped. Attack quickly, he's not dead yet. Minjio Xingming said, waving the iron ball in his hand and hitting it again. Ha 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 ha, that's great, watch me chop this beast to pieces. Immortal Kawasania activated his swordsmanship instantly, turning into a whirlwind and slashing at the remaining body of Black Death Mo. Don't stop attacking, keep attacking his neck, don't waste such a good opportunity. Hey Death Mao's body suddenly grew legs, and he began to dodge the attacks of the two men. For a moment, the attacks of Yanzu and Fengzu failed one after another. At the same time, Hey Death Mao's head began to grow slowly. It was not like before, it looks like a human being, and the newly grown head is very ferocious, covered with horns and fangs. What a beast! He grew up so quickly. Asshole! Don't stop, keep attacking, his neck should be very fragile just after it grows. Mingyu Xingming shouted loudly, and now everyone has joined the fight. Even Inashuk rushed up and stood around to prevent Heishimo from escaping. Boom! Fang Ye seized the opportunity again and smashed Heishimo with one punch. Mao's body. Six eyes stared at Fang Ye at the same time, and Heishimo remembered his appearance. Are you a swordsman or a warrior? Can a person's body be easily destroyed without the Nichiren sword? Fang Ye raised his foot, stepped on Heishimo's remaining head, and said with a look of disgust. Do you deserve to be called a human being if you look like this? What's the meaning? Heishimo roared loudly, somewhat irritated. Then let me see your ugly appearance before you die. Fang Ye said, picking up Tokitoru Muichiro's Nichiren sword from the ground and placing it in front of his eyes. Through the reflection of the blade, Heishimo saw his current appearance. The crisscrossed flesh horns were exposed in the take out your fangs. And his proud eyes, which can see through everything, are looking in all directions crookedly at this moment, like a monster. Did I survive for hundreds of years and end up in this ugly posture? What is the purpose of turning into an ugly monster? Devouring hundreds of people, what on earth have I been doing these past few hundred years? Heishimo's body began to dissipate, but his mind came to mind, and what his brother said to him when he met Jiguo Yuanyi for the last time. How sad, brother, is this what you want? No, this is not what I want. Heishimo murmured, the body's recovery trend began to stop, and his head began to gradually dissipate. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 315. Very good, very fast, much longer than the previous calculation required. Ozan Yashiki was very happy, because the Demon Slayer squad showed an invincible momentum at this time. But he also knew that this was not eternal. Because the tragic battle just now was just the beginning. Now, call all the pillars to gather in the direction of Wume. At the same time, he ordered all the remaining Demon Slayer members to stay away from the Demon Slayers. They would not be able to play any role in such a battle. As soon as Goiwushi Wume recovers, he will devour them to restore his physical strength. I repeat, all Demon Slayer members who have not reached level C, stay put. When you encounter danger, you can run away at all costs. This is not cowardice, but for the sake of the overall situation. A series of news of victory did not make the young Uyashiki lose her mind. At the same time, at this time, a judgment far beyond that of children of the same age broke out. Behind her, the two sisters quickly followed suit. Flying in the Infinite City, the eyeliner is currently relaying the orders of Kozan Yashiki. At the same time, the news that the upper string 1 has been reduced has also spread to everyone's ears. Morale is boosted. Murata, it hurts so much. Can you carry me? Carry me on your back, I really can't walk. Zenitsu cried sadly and begged Murata, who was supporting him, to carry him. After hearing the news, everyone was very happy. At the same time, Murata also noticed the order of Zyao Yashiki. Can't you move on? Murata was a little reluctant and punched the wall. Hateful, it's all because I'm too weak. It was like this in Spider Mountain, and it's like this now. Murata was very angry and disappointed with his own weakness. He turned to look at Shanyi, who was still crying, and looked seriously into his eyes. Mr. Zenitsu, what level are you at now? Janai was stunned for a moment, then he raised his arm, exerting slight force on his muscles, and the mark carved by the wisteria flower gradually appeared. I have been forced to perform tasks alone some time ago, and I have already reached level B. Wait, Murata, what do you mean? After receiving Zenitsu's answer, Murata's eyes were filled with affirmation, and he got rid of Zenitsu's arm wrapped around him. Mr. Zenitsu, now is the time for you to stand up. Putting his hands on Zenitsu's shoulders, Murata said seriously. Regardless of your level, or the fact that you just killed Shang Xianlu, it shows that your strength is infinitely close to that of a pillar-level master. Although my level is far lower than yours, I still want to say. Mr. Zenitsu, don't continue like this. Murata's eyes were excited, and he shook Zenitsu's shoulders vigorously. Zenitsu was shaken and staggered, and he said repeatedly. Okay, I know, if you shake it any more, it will really fall apart. Murata then stopped what he was doing and looked at Zenitsu seriously. Please come on, take mine with you. Okay. Zenitsu said with a look of disgust, I just don't know if it's possible for me to come back if Muzan is so strong. Murata, if I can't come back, I must find my wife Nezuko Kamado and tell her word for word about my wife Zenitsu's tragic deeds against the King of Ghosts, Oniwu, for the great cause of human happiness. And I really love her. If there is no hope in this life, let her not be sad. She will definitely find a chance to marry me in the next life. Murata, it seems I haven't married you yet, right? On the other side, everyone who had finished solving Shang Xian quickly jumped out of the room. Under the leadership of Yan Ya, everyone began to move rapidly in one direction. Clank clank clank. The sound of the pipa keeps ringing, which means that the Infinite City is still changing at this moment. The bird kept changing directions under the command, and several people followed closely behind. It seems that Wuxian is still afraid of facing us, so hurry up. Tokaido Muichiro quickly analyzed it and mentioned it aloud. Everyone is recovering from their injuries now. I can foresee that a fierce battle will be waiting for everyone in a while. Beiminjiao Xingming also said that while they were traveling, they continued to speed up while using the breathing method to recover their injuries. Although the breathing method is not omnipotent, it cannot allow them to recover in an instant like ghosts. They appear to be unscathed, but this is also their greatest reliance. The Demon Slayer Corps has been fighting evil spirits for thousands of years. It seems to be getting closer. I seem to hear the sound of fighting. The speed of everyone was even faster than before, but they seemed to smell the smell of blood, which shocked them all. Could it be that they smelled blood? Wu Mei has finished decomposing the poison? Finally, the crow stopped on a wooden wall and spoke human words. Right behind this wall. Everyone, be prepared. The next thing we have to face is the Ghost King we have been chasing for thousands of years. Gui Wu is so miserable. Bei Minjiao Xin Ming said, and at the same time he swung the meteor hammer in his hand. The meteor hammer, which weighed 100 kilograms, brought up gusts of wind and slammed into the wall in front of him. Boom! A big hole instantly appeared in front of everyone's eyes, and through it seems like you can see the people fighting fiercely. Tanjiro! Hold onto! Tokaido Muichiro saw a familiar figure, and his thin body quickly got in. The rest of the people followed suit. Kazumi's breath, the shape of chi. Hazy. Tokaido Muichiro was very fast, and he brought up waves at the same time behind him. Kexia. The light flashed across coldly, cutting off all the spikes surrounding Tanjiro in an instant. Muichiro. Seeing everyone coming over, Tanjiro shouted happily. When he turned to look at everyone felt a chill in their hearts. Only one of Tanjiro's eyes was seen, and it had been scratched. Blood was left on his cheek. Most of it was dyed red. And the position of the eye was undergoing changes, and the flesh and blood was constantly proliferating, as if the vitality was still spreading slowly. But Tanjiro didn't seem to care at all, waving the knife and rushed towards the previous issue. Tanjiro! Tanjiro seemed to be unable to hear. The Nichiren sword in his hand kept changing directions, using various sword moves that they had never seen before. But losing an eye was a huge loss of combat power for him. Aniwo, Muzan seemed to have grasped this flaw of Tanjiro, and a spike quietly touched it from a position he couldn't see. Tanjiro, get out of the way. With the reminder, Tanjiro also discovered the approaching crisis. His figure turned quickly, but also because of the loss of unemployment, his whole body actually hit the wall. Bang! A muffled sound sounded, and Tanjiro's movement a pause. Just when he was about to move quickly, the spikes were already in front of him. Oops! Tanjiro instantly realized his mistake and waved the Nichiren sword to resist. Suddenly, a figure stopped in front of Tanjiro. At the critical moment, Fang Ye's speed exploded, and he appeared in front of Tanjiro almost instantly. Facing the spikes coming from the attack, Fang Ye took action decisively. The armed collar was wrapped around his right hand, and he quickly grabbed it forward. The spike is held in the hand. Creak, creak, creak. The spikes kept changing, trying to pierce Fang Ye's palm, but no matter how it changed, it could make some harsh sounds, but it had no effect at all. Get ready, fighting against Gui Wushi Wu Pei is no joke. Fang Ye reminded Tanjiro behind him, and at the same time, he exerted force with his right hand. Stab. The sharp thorn and the flesh line connecting Ghost Dance were pulled off by Fang Ye. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Garden. Chapter 316. Oh? You. Wasn't he killed by Heishimo? Gui Wushi Wuke looked at the people present with a frivolous look in his eyes. The picture sent back to his mind was of Hei Death Mao having his head smashed by them. But even so, Ghost Wushi Wuke was still relaxed. It seemed that Hei Death Mao was still relaxed. Mao's death did not bring too big a shock to them. Behind him, the corpses of the Demon Slayer members were scattered everywhere. When Kotane Ashiki sent back the order, they took measures to retreat. But Demon Slayer was not miserable. The speed was so fast. Almost everyone was killed in an instant. Moreover, their key parts were devoured by Goiwushi Wukai's sharp mouths all over his body. At this moment, Goiwushi Wukai had evolved and reached a brand new state. While fighting against the toxin, his body underwent a change. At this moment, his state is more suitable for fighting. As long as he is attacked, his flesh and blood may be eaten by his sharp mouth all over his body, thus restoring his physical strength. It seems that your battle is going well, but I have some sad news for you. Giwishiwuken said, and the sharp blade that was torn off was restored instantly. The girl in the striped shirt and the boy with a snake around his neck seemed to have been eliminated by the wind. Giwishiwuken said softly, and the picture sent back to his mind was that Narunu used the advantage of the wall to kill the two of them completely. Most of their bodies were cut off, and they were already too dead to die anymore. Next up are you, one by one, how difficult it is to deal with. After I kill you, I'll go find that kid from the Yabayashiki family. As long as he is willing to beg me for mercy, I don't mind turning him into a ghost together, ha ha ha. Ghost Wushiwu smiled miserably, and several sharp blades sprouted out from the back of his thighs, attacking everyone with full force. Everyone looked at Goi Wushiwu's fancy attacks, clenched the weapons in their hands, and stood ready. The sharp blades crisscrossed in this large platform, constantly cutting. The air around him was shaking. There was a loud sound of the air being torn apart, and the sharp blade had already attacked in front of him. Stab. Shuazufugong Yiyong couldn't dodge, and Ghost Dance left a huge wound on his body. Mr. Volunteer. Tanjiro yelled and rushed forward again. We can't let Mr. Gyua fall into danger. Tanjiro said, his body kept rolling, approaching the Ghost Dance. Soon, the Ghost Dance entered the Tanjiro Jiro's attack range. We must disrupt his attack. Tanjiro holds the Nichiren sword tightly, his eyes fixed on the Ghost Dance. For a moment, he didn't even notice the approaching crisis again. With a snap, a sharp blade came out of Tanjiro again. The blind spot of Jiro's vision came. Bang! The blade was blown up again, and Fangye pulled Tanjiro back. There is no need to force a breakthrough for the time being, look for opportunities slowly. With a reminder, Fangye rushed in first. Sensing Fangye's existence, Goiwushi Wukai sent out most of his sharp blades to wrap around Fangye. Constantly moving and rolling, Fangye dodged one sharp blade after another with the aura of death. The fists and kicks blasted the unavoidable sharp blade one after another, and Goiwushi Wukai's blood splashed all over the ground. For a moment, Goiwushi Wukai was suppressed by Sheng Sheng. Don't waste the opportunity Mr. Ye created for us, go in and attack. Ming Ming Yu Xing Ming roared, and hit the popular hammer in his hand at Goiwushi Wuhan, who had been eliminated by the sharp blade. The huge meteor hammer was so fast that it even brought up waves of after images. The rest of the people also continued to use sword moves, cut off the sharp blade that continues to regenerate. Bang! A muffled sound came out, and the meteor hammer was stopped by Giwishiwu miserably. Even though his right hand was bruised and bloody by the meteor hammer, he was still stopped. The injury on his right hand recovered quickly. Goiwushi Wumei's ghost claws clung to the meteor hammer, leaving scratches on it. A harsh sound came out. Ming Yu Xingming quickly pulled the iron chain in Dongdong's hand. The huge force directly made the meteor hammer escape. Giwishiwuxian controlled 2 or 3 nails at the same time. But for Giwishiwuxian, such an injury was undoubtedly the same as scratching an itch. The nails grew back the moment they fell off, but the other pillar's attacks instantly attack. One after another sword moves instantly trapped Goiwushi Wumei in place. The green whirlwind, flowing water waves, and hazy glow instantly entangled Goiwushi Wumei. What a bunch of mosquito-like bastards! Goiwushiwuke was a little annoyed, and several sharp blades appeared from behind again, and dozens of sharp blades stabbed several people instantly. "Get out of the way!" Tanjiro roared, and the Nichiren sword began to be entangled with swirling flames, destroying the sharp blade that was attacking him. Snap! Snap! The tissue that had been cut off by Kibushimukai continued to fall to the ground, but still regenerating. The speed is very fast, far beyond those so-called winding. Breath of the sun? It makes me sick. Is one finally coming out after so many years? But you are so far apart from that man. Ghost Dance Shimukai turned his attention to Tanjiro again. In an instant, he was stabbed with several sharp blades, and even if everyone's attacks hit him, he didn't react. It feels like it's cut. Undead Sania shouted in surprise, but when he turned his head, he found that the moment the blade was pulled out, Oni-Isan's head was glued together again. What a terrifying regeneration speed! The Nichiren sword in Tanjiro's hand continued to rotate, the attacking blades were all shattered. But Kibumukai's rebirth was too fast. Almost instantly, the blades were reborn. Tanjiro's breath of the sun couldn't turn the Nichiren sword red yet. There is no limit to Kibutsu Shimukai's ability to regenerate. The reborn blade continues to stab at Tanjiro without losing momentum. Tanjiro is fighting and retreating, constantly cutting. Damn it, there's a wall behind it. Tanjiro's remaining left eye sensed that there was a wall behind him. He had no way out. Protect Tanjiro quickly. Yi Yang, who was not good at words, shouted, and everyone's attacks turned instantly. One knife after another struck at the root of the sharp blade, cutting off all the lives. At the same time, Fang Ye came to the rescue again. His figure was so fast that he even left an afterimage on the field. His hands kept attacking, holding all the sharp blades in his hands. Fierce flames. Both arms instantly turned into flames, and the terrifying high temperature instantly wrapped around them. Feeling the severe pain, Giwashiwuken decisively gave up those sharp blades. After they all fell off, he appeared again behind him, attacking his surroundings like crazy demons. In an instant, several pillars were injured to varying degrees and were forced to fly backwards. They were dripping with blood, and the injuries were a bit serious this time. Heavy. That's almost it? The ceiling suddenly shattered, and a pink figure wearing a striped demon slayer uniform suddenly appeared. Save it for me, Goiwu is not miserable. Dimensional chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 317. Hearing the movement behind him, Goiwu Shiwuke turned around urgently, only to see a familiar yet unfamiliar face. This woman. For a moment, Goiwu Shiwuke was a little sluggish. But the next second, Kenroji Mitsurai's attack arrived. The breath of love, the shape of land. Cat's claw, the wind of love. The Nichiren sword, which was supposed to be extremely hard, turned out to be like a sword at this moment, hitting Giwashiwuhan from various tricky angles. The large-scale attack made him not know how to dodge for a while. He could only raise his arms. Flesh and blood continued to grow for defense. At the same time, he also noticed a figure with a small white snake around its neck. He suddenly remembered it. Aren't these the two people Narum killed in the Shangxian Si? What happened? Are they not dead? Absolutely. Impossible. Ghost Dance Shiwuken instantly rejected this idea. In the picture, two people had half of their bodies cut off. They were humans, not ghosts. Such damage was enough to kill them in an instant. Not to mention, how could there be any injuries on these two people at this time? Narum, what the hell are you doing? Ghost Dance Shiwuhan roared loudly, and at the same time he shot out two balls of flesh and blood with fangs to push back the two approaching men. Why are these two dead people still alive now? At the same time, Naruto, whom Oniashi Shimu was talking about, was still sitting on the platform, holding the lute with both hands. Behind him, Yashiro's eyes were blood red, and veins appeared on his forehead. His fingers inserted into Naruto's the head is controlling her thoughts. The scene that Unuiwa Shimukai saw just now was done by Yashiro by controlling Naruhiko's head. Yashiro naturally heard the other party's question clearly. He was not timid, he replied sharply. What are you doing? Didn't you see it clearly just now? Yu Shilang's veins popped out. Miss Zushi has been in pain for hundreds of years, and Goiwu is not miserable. Do you know that you have made the most serious mistake in the world? I'm going to knock you down and let you die in the sun. Boom. Yashiro became even more angry, and the infinite city began to shake. The platform where a few people were on rose rapidly, and the huge pressure made everyone feel bad. Such pressure almost made them unable to breathe, let alone fighting. Anemuzi stood there, his eyes turned white. He and Yashiro were fighting in Naruto's body. The result was that the entire infinite city began to shake violently. It kept shaking left and right, rising and sinking. Everyone quickly inserted the sun wheel in their hands into the wooden board and forcibly stabilized their position. Goiwu Shiwupai became even more angry, and at the same time he also learned the identity of this ghost who had escaped his control. You must be Zushi's ghost. You are really courageous. You dare to confront me. Muse shouted coldly, and Naruto reacted instantly. Yashiro's face was ferocious, and the hands inserted into Naruto's head gradually turned blood red. This was a symptom of being swallowed up by Muse, and he already felt this. My hands are starting to lose feeling. Can I help? Eat me, so that you can defeat Wuhan. A Demon Slayer team member who had been following Yashiro saw that the war between the two had reached a fever pitch, and he actually came up with the idea of wanting Yashiro to eat him to restore his physical strength. Of course Yashiro wouldn't do this. If he ate a human being, what difference would there be between the ghosts under Ghost Dance Shimukai's hands? Get out of here, you're making so much noise, don't get in the way. Yashiro yelled, scaring the Demon Slayer member into silence. Right, sorry. At this moment, Goiwu Shiwukai suddenly felt the crisis, and his consciousness was teleported back instantly. His eyes looked in two directions, and someone rushed over under huge pressure. The breath of water, the shape of Si. Hit the tide. The breath of a snake, the shape of one. Kill the snake. Two attacks came from two directions of Goiwu Shiwupai, and slashed towards his head. In the way. Ghost Dance Shiwupai frowned, and multiple spikes appeared from his back to knock the two people away. After the interference of the two people, Yashiro's suppression also had an effect. The weird red color began to fade from his hands. Ghost Dance Shiwupai, his cells were actually suppressed by him. As soon as Kiwashiwukan got away from the two of them, he saw a figure appear in front of him. You again? What an annoying guy, go to hell. Goiwu Shiwupai looked at Fangya in front of him, and it actually made him feel a little timid. The gray-white arrogance rising around Fangya, as well as the indifferent silver-gray eyes, made Goiwu Shiwupai feel a touch of sacredness from it. He was very unhappy about this. Dozens of sharp blades came from behind, heading towards Fangya's package. Attacking at every blind corner, Goiwu Shiwupai even thought of the scene where Fangya was beaten into a sieve in front of him. But what happened next? A scene that shocked Goiwu Shiwupai for 100 years appeared. Fangya's body was seen flipping in the air, dangerously, but steadily dodging every attack. The movements were so fast that they could not be seen at all, and the speed was very stable. Not at all like a person facing a death crisis. Snap! Fangya held the two sharp blades in his hands, and then pulled hard. Goiwu, who was also falling in mid-air, was pulled by Fangya uncontrollably. Come here. What greets him is a huge fist. Phew. Goiwu Shiwupai's head was instantly beaten to pieces, and the pieces of flesh spattered all over the floor and walls. The flesh and blood reacted, and Goiwushiwupei's head began to regenerate. In the blink of an eye, half of his head was restored. Fangye naturally wouldn't give him a chance. He punched out with his right fist again, and the newly born head was blown open again. For a moment, Goiwushiwupei's regeneration ability couldn't keep up with Fangye's destruction speed. It works, look. Genluyi Meili saw Fangye temporarily suppressing Goiwushiwupei and cried out in surprise. You know, they took turns attacking Goiwushiwupei, but it had no effect. Now in Fangye under the suppression, Goiwu's head was unable to grow. At the same time, when Goiwu's head was severely suppressed, Yashiro manipulated Naru to raise the infinite city extremely fast. After noticing this, Goiwushiwupei immediately clenched his fist. Narugirl's head exploded. What? If you can't compete, you will be destroyed immediately. Is this how Goiwushiwupei treats his subordinates? No, Infinite City hasn't broken out of the ground yet. It's impossible to win here, the cells are not dead yet, there is still a chance. Yoshiro inserted his hand into Naru's neck again and controlled the Infinite City to continue to rise. Suddenly, a voice came out, and even Fangye's attention was attracted. I saw a sharp blade attacking Genluyi Mitsurai from an unknown angle. And it is still extending. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 318. What? Genluyi Meili was startled, and she subconsciously swung a spear in her hand. The sharp blade broke instantly and fell to her feet, squirming. But at this time, a sharp spike broke out from the ground behind her and slashed at Genluyi from the blind corner of her sight. 10. Zero looked anxious, but he couldn't catch up at such a long distance. Xiaobani was even more anxious, and the winding Nichiren sword in his hand instantly swung out a blade of light. But the speed of the blade was too fast. Before the snake pillar's blockage reaches it, it can penetrate the honey glass of Ganlu Temple. Suddenly, the sharp blade stops. Not far away, Fangye breaks the floor with a punch, exposing Gawashiwa's secret hidden underneath. Flesh and flesh tissue. The attack just now was sent out through this flesh and blood tissue. Fangye hit the vital point with a punch, instantly destroying the nervous system inside. Genluyi Meili took a long breath, and instantly jumped to this dangerous area, with a look on her face looking at everyone guiltily. However, during this period of time, Goiwu's injuries have all recovered. Boom! Boom! Sounds like earthquakes kept ringing, and the platform where everyone was on kept rising. No, it took the entire Infinite City with it. They were all rising. Boom! Just like a house collapsed, the buildings around everyone began to collapse. A big hole was made above their heads by the rapidly rising buildings. Everyone was exposed. Infinite City, out of the ground. In the Yabayashiki mansion, Yabayashiki was sweating coldly, and he checked the current battle situation with trembling hands. Just now, because of one of his mistakes, hundreds of Demon Slayer members died at the hands of Demon Slayer. At this moment, there was a tug of war between Yashiro and Ghost Dance, and finally Infinite City broke out of the ground. This is good news, Goiwushiwupei is now at a disadvantage. As long as he is dragged until the sun comes out and the sun shines on him, the Demon Slayer squad will win. How much time is left? Koiwashiki turned to look at his sister and kept praying in her heart. Make it shorter, make it shorter. If he had the ability, he would even want the sun to rise right now. Return, 1.5 hours left. My sister Bifang looked at the pocket watch in her hand and trembled all over. An hour and a half. It was only a short time to study, but now it seems so long. The battlefield is changing rapidly, and 1.5 hours can completely change the situation of the battle. And now, the scarred Demon Slayer team members have to hold back the Ghost King, Ghost Dancer, for at least another hour and a half. Abanyashiki's pupils were trembling, but he still gritted his teeth and commanded the Demon Slayer squad. On the battlefield, a dozen black crows were hovering in the air, spitting out human words. Quack, there's still an hour and a half until dawn. An hour and a half. It's so long. When they heard the crow's voice, everyone's first reaction was, it's too long. Tanjiro climbed out of the ruins and began to look for everyone's location. And, the ghost dance is so miserable. A rustling sound came from behind, and Tanjiro turned to look. Miss Kenroji, Mr. Ihei, it's great that you guys are okay. Tanjiro-kun, after Genluyi Meili saw the speaker clearly, she quickly asked. What's wrong with the ghost dance? A little, wait a minute, let me see if I can smell gooey wushi wupai. Tanjiro sniffed, but something suddenly exploded not far away. The remaining limbs of the Demon Slayer members were buried in the ruins and flew out. Gooey wushi wukai's figure was exposed in front of everyone. His white hair was floating, and the sharp blade behind him glowed with cold light, like metal. On his body, countless fangs extended out. A greedy mouth appeared on the arms, thighs, and even waist. Do you want to drag me until dawn? Naive guys. If you can do it, give it a try. Wuxian's arms stretched out in an instant, and together with the sharp blade behind him, the speed was a little faster than before. Fang Ye's silver-gray eyes were very indifferent, and he could see the attack trajectory of most of the sharp blades in an instant. The whole person flew and shot. Come out, take everything that threatens everyone in your hands, and tear it off. With Fang Ye as cover, the pressure on the pillars is instantly relieved. Shuazu Fugang Yi Yang, Lian Zigen Luyi Meili, Snake Pillar Yi in the black minibar, 3 people rushed up instantly and performed sword moves in perfect harmony. Breath of Love, 2-shaped. Breath of Snake, 4-shaped. Breath of Water, 8-shaped. The attacks of the 3 fell on respectively Gui Wushi Wu Mei's body. The moment the sword blade was immersed, it recovered even before it was pulled out. It was cut off, but not completely. Mitsurai Kenroji loudly reported the battle situation on her side. The same was true for the other 2. This is a monster, and the recovery speed has actually increased. Gui Wushi Wu Mei's sharp blade grew out and launched a counter-attack instantly. Too close. Too close. The 3 of them looked at the incoming attack and resisted with all their strength. But at such a distance, it was impossible to block it. Move forward, everyone, come forward. Become a shield for the pillars and don't let them get hurt. We must protect the swordsmen who can fight Wu Mei, they are our hope. Hearing the order, all Demon Slayer members poured into the battlefield from all directions and got up from the ground. Some held broken Nichiren swords in their hands, and some just grabbed a stone from the ground and rushed forward. No, don't go, you will be killed. Tanjiro looked at the people who were undoubtedly sending themselves to death and quickly spoke out to stop them. Mr. Tanjiro, please protect yourself. You are the hope of our Demon Slayer squad. It is my honor to save you. Now, I have to carry out my mission. As he said that, he put down Tanjiro and swung his sword with all his strength towards Ghost Dance. Fight, there is nothing to be afraid of. How long have we been protected by the pillars? It's time for us to protect them. Without the pillars we would surely have died. Everyone shouted and rushed forward. Giwu frowned, and kept swinging out the sharp blades behind him, piercing the demon-slaying team members who came up one by one. Suddenly, a figure rushed out from behind everyone, and grabbed Giwu. Shiwukai was pinned to the ground. The furious Fang Ye frowned, took all the sharp blades owned by Gui Wukai in his hand, and grabbed his head with his right hand. Have you had enough? When I've had enough fun, it's my turn. Use your left hand hard, and cut off all the tentacles. The blazing flames clung to them, not only emitting the stench of burning blood and flesh. He swung a punch with his right hand and knocked off half of Wu Kuai's head. Bang bang bang. Fang. Bang. Yes, fists kept punching out, and Goi Wushi Wuke was beaten until his blood and flesh splattered. Promoting the continuous regeneration of flesh and blood, Goi Wushi Wuke could barely bring his recovery ability to the same speed as Fang Yes destruction. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Dimensional Chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mung Garden. Chapter 319. Bang bang bang. Fang Yes fists kept falling, blood and flesh splattered, the scene looked very miserable. Hateful. Goi Wushi Wume's voice was hoarse and he let out an angry roar. He is a majestic ghost king who has lived for nearly a whole century. Now he is being suppressed by a young man who looks about 20 years old. How can he accept this? At the same time, Goi Wushi Wume instantly thought of a solution. His blood burned, and Goi Wushi Wume's physical strength began to be consumed rapidly. Correspondingly, his recovery speed increased exponentially. Not only was the injury repaired instantly, but his entire body shape also began to increase. It expanded rapidly. In an instant, it grew to a height of 3 to 4 meters. As soon as he stepped out, he was crushed by Fang Yes punch. At the same time, the other foot violently retreated back, nearly 10 meters. Although the opponent present for people, 10 meters is just a distance in the blink of an eye, but for Goi Wushi Wuke, it is now a much safer distance than before. At the same time, the whole person's figure began to shrink again. In the blink of an eye, it returned to its previous state it looked like. However, just this operation caused a huge loss of Goi Wushi Wukai's physical strength. He had to replenish his physical strength. Goi Wushi Wukai focused his attention on the corpses of the Demon Slayer members scattered on the ground. The thought of eating dead bodies makes me sick, but that's all it can do now. Gewushai Wuhan had no choice but to do so, and at the same time, countless tentacles with sharp mouths spread out from behind, stretching out in all directions. Don't let him regain his strength, stop him quickly. With a loud shout, Fang Ye took the lead in attacking and shattered several tentacles with one punch. When the pillars reacted, their voices began to quickly shuttle through the battlefield. The breath of water, the shape of picking up. Life goes on. Tomioka Yoshiyuki quickly waved the Nichiren sword, and the rolling water appeared instantly cutting into pieces the surrounding tentacles. But this was only part of it. Sensing the entrance of many pillars, Oni Wushimusen instantly determined the target. Suddenly, countless sharp blades appeared attack again, the speed is so fast that it is almost invisible. In an instant, several people are surrounded. Before they have time to react, everyone is suppressed. The blade dances crazily, and it is like a fish in water in this empty battlefield. In addition, at night with the blessing, Goi Wushi Wume's attack was instantly hidden in the air. Not good. Kenroji Mitsurai immediately discovered the danger of Fugan Yiyang and wanted to help. Unexpectedly, Ani Wushai Wubai split the sharp blade into several parts in an instant, and focused his attack on Kenroji Mitsurai who came for support. Invisible, completely invisible. Kenroji Mitsurai couldn't even swing the sword, so she could only rely on intuition and luck to dodge. Bang! Kenroji Mitsurai flew backwards, barely evading an encirclement and suppression, and rolled in mid-air, preparing to distance herself. Too fast, what? I only felt that I stumbled under my feet, and then it was like being sucked by a suction cup, and my speed slowed down greatly. Instantly realizing that something was wrong, Kenroji Mitsurai twisted her body with all her strength, trying to catch the luck and avoid the blow. But luck they are equal and will not always look after her. A deep wound was made on her shoulder, and a piece of her left cheek was cut off. Blood burst out from her body, and it spread to the ground as if it was free of money. Just this one blow lost consciousness. Mitsurai. Ihei immediately realized that something was wrong. He turned around and escaped from the encirclement. His footsteps were strange and fluttering. While dodging the attack, he headed towards the place where Mitsurai was at Ganlu Temple. After passing death countless times, he finally arrived at Ganlu Temple. Mili's location. It's okay. Iguro Kobana shook Kenroji Mitsurai's body, then directly hugged her up, and retreated violently again. What happened with the attack just now? Biminjio seeing Ming smashed Kawashiwa's outstretched right hand with a hammer. At the same time, he began to think in his mind. Ganlu Temple Mili clearly dodged the attack just now. But he was still hit. On the other side, Iguro Kobana put Kenroji Mitsurai in a relatively safe position, and said in a hoarse voice to the medical team members who came over. She was seriously injured, so she went to find the Demon Slayer team member with his eyes hanging. He could heal her. His name is Yashiro. After saying that, Iguro Kobana looked deeply at Kenroji Mitsurai, turned around and was about to join the battle again. Etc. Kenroji Mitsurai, who was lying on the ground, opened her eyes wide, gasped, and called Iguro Ziobanai to stop. I can't rest, I can still fight? Sorry, I'm holding back again, but, let me play some role. Don't leave me here, let me fight, I beg you. Yaihei Xiaobane felt distressed and comforted. Don't say that, you've done a great job. No. Kenroji Mitsurai shook her head and stared at the ground. I have not caused any substantial harm to Guiwushi Wupei at all, and I have not made any contribution. If I are allowed to retreat like this, I will die in peace. He looked deeply at Kenroji Mitsurai again, his eyes filled with distress. Boom. Iguro Kobana suddenly took action and struck Kenroji Mitsurai hard on the back of the neck. The next second, Kenroji Mitsurai's body collapsed and fell into a coma. I'm sorry, Mili, this is all I can do. After saying that, he put Kenroji Mitsurai into the arms of the medical staff. He's asking you to find that guy who hangs his eyes. Yes. The medical staff assured immediately, looking worriedly at the back of Iguro Kobana who joined the battle again. Mili, if possible, I hope to meet you in a ghost-free world in the next life. Maybe it will be much happier. My body, which is full of filth, can only be worthy of you if I die once. The bandage that Yaihei Xiaobane had been using to protect her face had long since broken, and two hideous scars spread from the corners of her mouth. Ghost dance is not miserable. How many ordinary people have lost the right to happiness because of you? Today, I must kill you. On the other side, the Demon Slayer team members with the word hidden written behind them were evacuating citizens not far from the scene. It's really hard to get through, it's very dangerous. Are you police officers? A citizen looked at their strange costumes and questioned. We were entrusted by the police officers to evacuate everyone. There has been foundation subsidence in front of us. It is really dangerous. Really? Will it catch fire? The citizens were still asking questions, which gave them a headache. But they were still patiently persuading. Suddenly, a collapse occurred not far ahead. A 7 or 8-story building collapsed instantly, stirring up smoke and dust all over the sky. Everyone saw at this scene, I was shocked. The largest building in the entire city collapsed like this. Dimensional chosen, only I know Saitama is the strongest. Author, Mungbean Garden. Chapter 320. Many citizens stopped asking questions, turned around and left with their luggage in their hands. Everyone just go forward, there are people there directing everyone to evacuate and avoid danger. Wu Yang said loudly to the people who left. The Demon Slayer team member responsible for evacuating the people breathed a sigh of relief. I finally left, and I took this time to quickly check if there were any injured people nearby. After giving the order, everyone started searching again. The collapsed house panels were lifted, and everyone checked one by one. Meow. One of the Demon Slayer team members was stunned for a moment. He seemed to have heard a cat meow just now. I followed the sound and found half of a calico cat exposed under a collapsed houseboard. What a pitiful little guy, I'm here to save you. 3 bars walked up and gently pushed away the wooden plank holding it down. How about it? Can you come out? Sanhua seemed to understand, nodded, and crawled out of the ruins. The kitten shook off the dirt on its body, twitched its ears, and ran in one direction. The Demon Slayer team member immediately reacted, which direction? This is the main battlefield for hunting down ghost dance. Don't go there, it's dangerous. But he could only watch the kitten disappear from his sight. He ran really fast. Sandeo Gang sighed. There were still many people in need of rescue, and he didn't have much time to save the kitten. In the main battlefield, Ihei instantly joined the battle. His figure was so illusory that Kiwashiwubai several attacks failed. Snake's breath, 3 types. The erratic light of the sword instantly fell on Guiwu's left hand, cutting it off at the root. At the same time, Xiaobanai turned around 180 degrees and kicked Guiwu Shiwumei's severed limb away. Noticing this move, a sneer appeared at the corner of Guiwu Shiwupai's mouth. Does kicking a broken limb prevent healing? Great idea. But I still underestimated his self-healing ability. Granulation sprouted from the fracture, and the lost left hand recovered instantly. Launch another violent attack. As a last resort, Xiaobanei's figure began to retreat, instantly out of Guiwu Shiwumei's attack range. But Kiwashiwumei's attack would not stop because of this. He changed his direction and attacked Fugang Yiyang, who was closest to him. Water breathing. Yiyang lowers his back and braces his horse, ready to make life change again. But before he could make a sword move, Guiwu Shiwumei's left hand was wrapped around the sun sword in his hand. Immediately afterwards, there was a burst of distortion, and the sun blade was forced to rotate. Fugang Yiyang looked at the Nichiren sword that came out of his hand. His eyes were shocked. Grip, is my grip no longer strong enough? Looking at the Nichiren sword that was gradually going away, and the sharp mouth that was shooting at him, there was a trace of despair in Tomioka's eyes. His hands had begun to tremble from the continued fighting. The blood vessels in the hands have been broken and the hands are covered with blood. Seeing that his body was about to be penetrated, a green wind suddenly appeared. Breath of wind. The Cyan Gangfeng slashed Kiwashiwuhan's left hand with numerous scars. At the same time, Fang Ye's figure appeared and tore it off directly. After leaving Fugang Yiyang's Nichiren sword behind, Fang Ye once again chased after Ghost Dance's figure. Next time you dare to be in a daze, I will definitely kill you first. Immortal. River roared, turned around and continued to deal with the dense tentacles. Fugang Yiyang bit the tip of his tongue and forcibly stopped the random thoughts in his mind. How long has it been, and he is still thinking? If he can still fight, he must not insult the name of Shuazu. Until death. The breath of water, the shape of picking up. Life and death flow. Fugang Yiyang's figure turned in mid-air, and the wave-colored sword light shot out instantly. It penetrated the entire battlefield in an instant. You are such a tough kid, but it won't be long before you all die violently. Guiwu Shiwupai looked at everyone with cold eyes. Look over there, is this your hope? Everyone was shocked when they saw Tanjiro lying on the ruins, holding his throat with his left hand. He was foaming at the mouth, as if he had been poisoned. When you are hit by me, my blood will seep in, but don't worry, you won't turn into ghosts. It's no different to you than being poisoned. Guiwu Shiwukai expanded his body to resist Fang Ye's fist, but his eyes were very frivolous. 5 more minutes? No, it won't even take 5 minutes, your body will be killed by my cells. You are just a human being, And you still want to kill me? Daydreaming. Even if I only have one head, I will kill you and cut you into pieces. The immortal river didn't care. A hurricane burst out from its hands, and it attacked Gui Wuxi Wu Pei again. Minjiao Xingming gritted his teeth. If it was true as Gui Wuxi Wu Pei said, he wouldn't be able to hold out until dawn. Iguro Kobana rushed forward again. Start attacking regardless. Compared to other people, the smaller Xiaobane must be poisonous much faster. Fang Ye may be the only one left at the scene who has not been injured yet, but in their eyes, if everyone dies, leaving Gui Wuxi Wu Hui behind will be the biggest problem. Moreover, everyone knew deeply that Fang Ye's current state could not be maintained for long. Suddenly, a figure appeared in everyone's sight. WTF? The immortal river looked at the figure that suddenly appeared, and jumped into the sky. He looked at it warily, only to find that it was a kitten. The kitten's figure turned somersaults in mid-air, and the box behind it popped open. Several needles were fired at everyone, and one of them was shot at Gui Wuxi Wu Pei. Click. With a crisp sound, Gui Wuxi Wuhan instantly shattered the needle flying towards him. But everyone couldn't free their hands and was stabbed in the body. This little beast. Gui Wuxi Wuhan cut the calico cat into several pieces while it was still in mid-air, and watched helplessly as it fell to the ground. He just felt that this kitten was somewhat familiar, and the reagent just made him feel nausea. At this moment, Immortal Sichuan felt an itching on his face. He stretched out his hand and found that the sarcoma he had swollen due to poisoning had disappeared. And the body that was constantly aching has recovered a lot, and the blood has become smoother from disorder. Hey, although I don't know what happened to this passing kitten, he did help us a lot. I don't know why, but now I have the ability to continue fighting. Ming Minjiao Xingming nodded, and at the same time, the meteor hammer in his hand smashed all the attacks in front of him. The immortal river once again hit the Gangfeng, directly approaching Gui Wuxi Wuhan. I can't even stand the sight of a kitten anymore. You disgusting octopus bastard, go to hell.